All right, everybody, we want to say good evening. It is February 25th, 2026. Where were you on February 26th? Hopefully you're here with me on House Calls. It's your man, Dr. Rory T. Edwards. And today, like we've been doing over the last 3 weeks, we're in week number 4. We're going to talk about the fourth pillar of the Empower 9 transformational system that I have created to help people not only to realign their lives to serve their purpose, but also to understand how they are operating in their current system of development. And so today we're going to be talking about the occupational pillar. And the occupational pillar is, like we said, you're successful in your occupation, but you're misaligned. And one of the things I want to talk about is that when we look at words, we are a nation of words. And one of the things that I wanted to know and wanted to share with people is that we use over 1 million words in our system, but only about 470,000 of those words are used on a consecutive basis. And then we got to realize that a lot of those words have multiple understandings and multiple meanings and multiple definitions. Because one of the things that I want to say is that it's never about the sender. It's always about the receiver. And we talked about that in one of our previous pillars, the emotional pillar. And so what I want to do tonight is I want to open up with a little story, because this is so funny that I just had this conversation with a gentleman who I'm working with. And when I sat down with him, the man, he believes in his mind and what he's accomplished, that he had everything that people want. So he had the corner office. He worked corporate. He had the corner office. He has a 6+ figure income. His team respects him. It's a title that his parents are really, really proud of him. His parents are saying, I'm so super proud of my son. But on paper, if we look at it, based on the system that we live in, on paper, he won. He's winning. He won. But when I ask him a simple question, how are you really doing? He doesn't answer right away. He sat there for a little while and he stared at the table. He looked out the window and he finally answered me. And he says, I don't hate what I do, but I don't feel like it's right for me anymore. And so when I reflect back, I look at people, and very seldom it's really celebratory right now if you see somebody who has worked in a job and they're retiring and they've been there 30+ years, 40 years. And that is very rare now, because so many people change jobs. It's almost like the portal in sports. If you're not happy, you leave. You're not setting up any type of stability in a job. And so I celebrate those people who stay at jobs for 30, 40 years and do well, because the climate just doesn't require anybody to stay at a job any longer, because so many people are recruiting for the best people to grow their jobs, and some people just move on. But that's when I knew that to him, I told him, this isn't burnout. This was just misalignment. And that's what the occupational pillar really is. It's burnout. The occupational pillar is the misalignment, not burnout. And I'm sorry I just said it's burnout. No, it's misalignment. It's that you're no longer, in your car. If you have a newer car, if you're driving outside the lanes and you move over, your car tries to pull you back. That's misalignment. And that's what the occupational pillar really talks about. So what is the occupational pillar really? Well, the occupational pillar really isn't your job. It's the relationship between what you do, who you are, and what you're becoming. And so it governs a few things. It governs your purpose. It governs your contributions. It governs the identity through your work. And it governs the meanings you attach to effort. And that one's really important, because I want to really say that again. Because it governs the meanings you attach to effort. Because sometimes people think that they're doing a lot of stuff, but sometimes it's just busy chaos. You know, you may be moving back and forth, but you're not accomplishing anything, and it's really not a lot of effort. What it is you're really spending a lot of energy on doing nothing. And so this is where most people never realize success and alignment are not the same. So some people say, well, you know, I'm doing great. I got a top job and I'm this and I'm successful. But let me give you a definition of a successful position and an aligned position. So successful is external confirmation, right? So you look the part. You look the part. You wear the nice suits. You got the nice shoes. Your hair is done. For females, your nails are done. You got everything that looks perfect on the outside. But alignment is the internal congruence. It's the internal one where you know once you're over, once you're complete, that the things that you're doing are the same as the success that you believe is also being shown on the external side. Correct? Okay. So let me talk to you about the quiet drift. That's something that we talk about, the quiet drift. Most misalignment doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. So this is the quiet drift. It's almost like something eroding over time. And every time you look at it, you see a little piece has fallen off. A little piece has fallen off. So like I said, it happens slowly. You take the promotion. You accept the responsibility of the new role. You love the increase in the income. You become reliable. You're there early. You leave late. And somewhere in that growth, you outgrow the version of yourself that chose that path. You feel this just, I'm unsettled. I don't understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. But you don't notice it right away. It shows up like Sunday evening anxiety. When you're sitting around, you say, oh my gosh, I gotta go in here and get my clothes ready for work tomorrow. I don't know what's going on. See, that's the Sunday night anxiety. You have shorter patience at work. When somebody could ask you a question before, now you're a little quick-witted, quick answers. You know, your body language, your facial expressions, and things like that show that your patience is a little shorter. You have quiet resentment you can't fully explain. Sometimes you just go in your office and you want to close your door because you can't explain why I don't want to interact with people. That's how the occupational pillar really feels. And you're feeling productive, but you're not fulfilled. I want you to understand. Does that make sense? You're feeling productive, but you're not being fulfilled. And because you're not competent in those feelings, you're not really truly understanding what those feelings are. You keep performing because you think if you keep going, from the outside, it looks like you're doing nothing wrong. But inside, something still feels off because when you leave the job, you're totally exhausted, right? So why does it exist in the system for which I've designed in the Power 9? The occupational pillar exists because work occupies more than our walking lives, than almost any other area in our life, work. Because we may work for 8 hours, but we got to get up in the morning 2 hours prior, and sometimes we have to prepare for work 2 hours after. We get off the job, if you work somewhere where you have to catch a shuttle or something to get to where your car is parked, then you have to drive home, and then you have to unpack, and then you have to, go on the computer and check things that happen at work after you left work. And when it's aligned, when things are aligned, right, in this pillar, your energy expands, your confidence stabilizes, and the other 8 pillars strengthen. But when it's misaligned, I want you to understand this because you can recognize some of these triggers and say, this may be me. The emotional fatigue increases, your physical stress rises, your relationships absorb frustration. That's just not at home. That's in anything. You may go into the store and the guy in front of you is taking long and you're blowing and you're frustrated because that internal system is now frustrated and it's fatigued and it wants to just get to the next phase. And your motivation feels forced. You know how you force conversations, you force smiles, you force having interactions with some people, you force conversation during meetings. That's when your body is misaligned, and that's why the occupational pillar is so important. And here's the dangerous part: misalignment can masquerade as ambition. So many people say, no, I'm really excited. I want to go here. I'm going here. I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm doing it. I'm doing this. But that's misalignment because you're trying to fill a void, because if not, you're going to just implode. So that's why we have to do that. And you can climb. It's like climbing a ladder leaning against the wrong wall, or it's climbing a ladder that's leaning against a twig on a tree. So you have to really understand how this can really be important, right? So let me just share this with you. Maybe you don't hate your job. Maybe you're good at it. Maybe people rely on you. But if you ever said to yourself quietly, I don't know if I want to keep doing this for the next 10 years. How many times have you sat at your desk? Have you sat on wherever you work, whatever you're doing, whatever you consider your occupation? If you're at the computer all day, if you're doing crunching numbers, if you're doing whatever, do you say to yourself, I don't know if I want to be doing this for the next 10 years? But that's not weakness, that's awareness knocking. See, awareness is trying to make you aware. And that's what I'm saying. Internally, our bodies tell us something, but most of us in our lives who have been in survival mode for the majority of our lives don't understand that that's awareness, and that's what it's doing. Awareness is knocking. The occupational pillar does not demand that you quit. It demands that you check your alignment, right? So demands that you check your alignment. That's where we come in, because the other pillars need to be assessed to make sure that they are also in equal balance and equal alignment. So one's not carrying the weight for some of the other ones that may be unstable. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a stabilizing action that can help you through this pillar. Don't just make a drastic move. Just ask yourself the honest question. What part of my work feels most disconnected from who I'm trying to become? Because you don't go to a job, you don't go to anything to not to become something in that area. Do you want to be the best at what you're doing? Do you want to advance to being the shot caller, big baller? If that's what you want to do, you got to ask, what part of my work feels most disconnected to what I'm trying to become? And it's not who you were, it's who you're becoming. So write that down when you're doing things. It's not who you are, it's who you're becoming. Don't try to solve it overnight either. Don't think these problems are going to change overnight. You're just going to write it down and tomorrow you're going to be a different person. Just acknowledge it, that awareness is the first real calibration in changing your life. And so as I'm going to close on this one, I'm going to say, I don't think you, if you're not feeling the best in this pillar, that you're not ungrateful, you're not lazy, you're not being dramatic, but in some cases, some of us do allow our emotions to make us be dramatic. See, that's why all these pillars fit together. You're going to see eventually that there's a method to my madness. And I've been doing this work for quite a long time, and I put a lot of work into developing this system, this Empower 9 system, and it can really help you. But we have to realize that we're in survival mode now, so it's really hard for some people to say, well, no, I'm doing good. All I got to do is do this. But the thing is that you may be simply evolving, and when evolution isn't reflected in your occupation, friction builds, and friction begins the collapse of your occupational pillar. All right? So going forward, I just want you to realize that these pillars are essential. They are essential to you having stabilization and alignment in all 9 of the pillars to make sure that your life is really in balance. And so if you need to reach out to us, please do so at the Rory T. Edwards Group. .info@gmail.com. Rory T. Edwards Group .info@gmail.com or www.rorytedwards.com. So this has been House Calls, and I want you to know that sometimes success isn't really the goal, but alignment is. But if you've been trained in the survival mode, the development alignment mode never gets a chance to show off. It's like buying a really nice suit and you're ready to go out, but you never get an opportunity to go show it off. That's what your alignment is, right? So until next week, this has been House Call, and we'll see you next week, next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Daylight Time. We're going to talk about pillar number 5, which a lot of you know, I know you want to talk about. It's your financial pillar. And it says why money still feels heavy even when you have it. Why money feels heavy. Some of you think it's so heavy, that's why as soon as you get it in your pocket, you spend it. And we're going to talk about that next week. So until we talk, Ashe, you all be well. It's your man, Dr. Rory T. Edwards on House Calls. Be well.